Choosing the right GPU in 2025 feels like picking the right beer at the local brewery. Do you go with the pour that has the most power? Maybe the one that has the highest ounces per dollar value? Or maybe you just want as much VRAM as you can fit into your pint glass. Is this reference even working? Either way, I'm here to help you find the perfect GPU for streaming, gaming, and making your friends super jealous on Discord. Spoiler alert, one of these GPUs may or may not be what I'm drinking right now. This one goes out to all the GPU companies, NVIDIA, AMD, and yes, even Intel, for keeping the industry on their toes. We might not like every decision that they make, and it might not always be fun, but the drama is always interesting. Cheers. All right, sidebar real quick. Before we ever talk about GPUs on this channel, there are a few things that I just want to clarify real quick. First off, new versus used graphics cards. Now, personally, I love the used GPU market, and I think that that's the place that most people should be going. The deals are great, the prices are right, and most people don't need a brand new 4090 right now. Now, regardless, the used marketplace is different everywhere. Not everybody is comfortable buying a used piece of technology, so we don't typically talk about it. I definitely will mention it a few times, but right now we're gonna focus on what's new, what's available for purchase at stores for everybody right now. Second, NVIDIA versus AMD, and technically Intel at this point. This video is about streaming computers. Will they work for gaming? Absolutely. But my recommendations for streaming computers tend to lean more towards NVIDIA GPUs, just based off of things like encoding options, better efficiencies with video editors, and generally just more support from the community and the industry. If you want pure gaming performance and you're okay dealing with the very occasional hiccup, then AMD typically has your back. But you want the best content creation and streaming experience, Intel and NVIDIA are usually the way to go. All right, now that we've got all of that out of the way, let's dive into GPU recommendations across the different budgets. The two biggest questions that you need to ask yourself to figure out which GPU is right for you is what games are you planning on playing and what resolution and quality you want to play them at, right? Are you a Fortnite player that's never planning on ever streaming or playing a different game ever? You'll be fine with literally anything on this list. Want to play the latest AAA games at 4K, ultra settings, full ray tracing, and high FPS to boot? Your wallet better be ready to empty itself out. Right now, the GPU market is kind of like a soap opera with just as much drama. The current cast members include NVIDIA's RTX 40 series and AMD's Radeon RX 7000 series, which are going to be the main focuses here of this video. But I also need to mention a handful of last generation RTX 30 and RX 6000 series cards that are still available new and typically great options used. They're still hanging around and still relevant, no matter what soapoperadramas.com says. But the real buzz right now, rumors of NVIDIA's 50 series and AMD's 8000 series cards possibly dropping as soon as January 2025. Should you just wait for one of those? Now, we'll circle back to that in just a second, but as soapoperadramas.com has said, spoiler alert, it's probably a no. Let's talk about what's available right now. Starting the budget category off around that $250, at least right now. All the links are going to be down below if you want to check current pricing. But we've got the RTX 3060. It is last generation, but it's a solid choice for 1080p gaming, entry-level streaming, just chatting streams, esports titles, those kinds of games and streams. The only reason I mentioned this card at all is because you can still get it brand new right now, and it has 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which is great at this price point and something that is becoming more and more important. The RTX 4060, even if it is sub $300, still fits into this budget category, but is much harder to recommend. It's going to offer a bit more performance, a little bit more in terms of DLSS, but it only has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which honestly still annoys me more than audio issues in OBS. It's just a never-ending cycle of audio problems. All right, either way, if you're an AMD fan, this price point looks great for gaming, not as much for streaming. Check out the RX 7600, the 6600 XT, or maybe even the 6750 XT. Similar price ranges, but you will be missing out on that NVENC encoder and industry standard perks that NVIDIA gets. All right, whether you're only here for the budget options or you're planning on watching the whole video, it would be pretty cool if you subscribed, especially if you're enjoying the video. I appreciate you being here either way. Moving up a price bracket to the mid-range, these cards should get you some massive frames at 1080p and should be fine reaching into that 1440p area. The price category of this $350 to $500 range is where I honestly feel NVIDIA needs the most work outside of their used 30 series cards, but we've basically only got the 4060 Ti, which honestly, I don't recommend to anybody. You'd be a million times better off. Again, I said I wasn't going to talk about used cards, but finding a used 3070 or 3080 for the same amount of money. Maybe you can find a 4070 for $499 on holidays, and once the 50 series is a bit closer even, but that's about all that I can recommend. That does lead us though to AMD. At that $350 price point, the AMD RX 7700 XT is a solid choice, and the RX 7800 XT at around that $450 is an absolute beast and brings even higher frame rates and more comfort for streaming intensive tasks like OBS encoding or even video editing. Now, don't get me wrong, I think NVIDIA is the way to go for streamers, but these cards are definitely going to get the job done. And for those gamers that want 1440p, high frame rates, or even 4K gaming and streaming, you've got a couple of options. My go-to recommendation in this category is the RTX 4070 Ti Super. At right around that $799 price tag, some of the best price to performance that NVIDIA offers, as well as 16 gigabytes of VRAM, which is, at the rate that we're going, is on track to be required here real quick. It's a great option that's going to last you for a really long time. And unless you're an absolute billionaire buying the next 3 rounds for the whole place and wanting to spend over $1,000 on a GPU, the 4070 Ti Super is about what I'd recommend. The 4090, even if you can find one right now, is priced well over $2,000 right now. Let me just put this into perspective for you. My local Facebook marketplace right now, you can find quite a few 3090s right now for that $650 to $750 range, and a lot of them just aren't selling. So please don't buy a 4090 at these current prices. And if you're not feeling like sticking with the NVIDIA ecosystem perks, or just don't have that kind of budget, but still want some insane gaming performance, might I recommend you the RX 7900 GRE. Again, if you can find one right now. Might just be one of the best price to performance GPUs ever, not even just right now. It absolutely crushes 1440p, holds its own in that 4K gaming. While it might lack some of NVIDIA's ray tracing magic, the raw power of this card can pretty much make up for it. All right, so we've talked a bit about the new GPUs that will be coming out soon. Should you be waiting for one of those or just buying now? Now, if you're familiar with this channel, I've said it a million times and I'm gonna say it again. Just buy now. I'm a huge fan of buy now and enjoy your games now. If you're waiting until the next big thing, especially in tech, you'll always be waiting. Unless you know that you need a 5090, there's like 3 total of you out there. You know who you are. You probably don't need a 5090 either. Here's the thing. The next gen GPUs are gonna be dropping soon, but they're gonna come with that early adopter tax. AKA you're gonna be paying MSRP or more. Plus stock shortages that are just gonna drive you to madness if the scalpers don't do that first. Also, I'm definitely not an expert in this field, And this is about as political as I'm ever gonna get on this channel, but if you're in the US, we don't know the full extent of the proposed tariffs that could potentially be arriving in the coming months. This could potentially be the best time to build or buy a PC in the foreseeable future at this point. Now, a GPU that could be worth waiting for, I am really liking what Intel has announced with their Battlemage GPUs. I actually put an Arc A770 in my daughter's computer and streamed from it a couple times too, and it worked great every time. But I'm gonna wait until after benchmarks are out before fully recommending them. But if you do need a brand new GPU in that sub $300 budget range, these are looking amazing. But if you need a GPU right now, the current generation options are pretty solid. Most have seen price cuts, and you can build a killer streaming rig today without waiting for big CES announcements. Now, the next question is, what CPU are you going to be pairing with that new GPU? Especially when streaming, the CPU is just as important as the GPU. Either way, I made a video about that. Head over there and I'll see you over there so that we can make sure that your streams and your game don't lag. Cheers. Right there.